So thanks for that. I'm going to talk, as I say, about the pump and dump and the related company, Tian Ruixiang Holdings, which I'm almost certain I've absolutely abysmally pronounced there, but we're just going to go with it and everyone is just going to accept it. So why are we talking about them? Well, this is their stock chart for the last couple of months, and that's all that we have from them because they've only been public since mid-February. They IPO'd at a price of about $12 per share and rose over the following 2 months in a meteoric way to about $104 per share at their highest. You can see just here, 52-week high, $103.87. And then literally overnight, they lost 80% of the price in the stock. It crashed during the night, after hours, from about 100 all the way down to about 18. And then by the end of the week, it had come down to, you can see, a low here of $11. So that's 90% of its value gone in a matter of a few days. And this is quite strange. No one was really sure what was going on because there was no news around it. There was no scandal around the company. It wasn't using slave labor or something. It's just a Chinese insurance brokers company. Pretty boring, in fact. And there wasn't even earnings. There was no poor earnings. It's been around since 2010, even though it was only been publicly listed since this year. So no one could quite make heads or tails of it. And then it came out that it was potentially a pump and dump scheme. So for those of you who don't know what a pump and dump scheme is, it's an illegal scheme where people try to boost the price of something through either misleading statements or outright lies. And the goal of it is to sell their position in this, let's say, stock that they're trying to pump, that they will have already bought before they started trying to raise the price. That's where the dump comes in. So they've pumped it up and then they try and dump the shares to other people. And they walk away with a tidy profit. But the people who bought in, based on the lies, take a huge loss. It's typically done on very small companies because it's easier to manipulate the company's price. So let's take Tian Ruixiang Holdings. I'm going to call it TIRX because it's a lot easier, and that's a stock ticker. It's only got 2.4 million shares available. And that means it's easily manipulable because someone could buy up all of those shares, or a lot more of them. So when they IPO'd, let's say they were priced at $12, you could buy 1 million of those shares for only $12 million. It's a lot of money, but it's not an impossible amount of money to get together. And then through pumping that price up, they got the share price up to $100. That would be, say they've got 1 million shares, that's $100 million of price that they've got locked away. And they can sell for a $90 million profit. Doesn't matter to them that it's going to cost a lot of people a lot of money. For those of you who are interested, I put a Wolf of Wall Street gif in here because this is exactly what Jordan Belfort did for his whole career in Wall Street, was pump and dump schemes with penny stocks. Now, as I said, it is highly, highly illegal. It's heavily it's heavily penalized by the SEC and things like the FCAA in the UK. If they can prove that you are doing an intentional pump and dump scheme, they will fine you badly, and you may be barred from trading in equities and have other punishments imposed upon you. The problem is it's quite hard to prove because it's all about intent. Did you mean to mislead people, or are you just an idiot who didn't know what you were doing? It's a hard question for people to answer, and that's why people can get away with it sometimes. What's even harder for people to punish, though, is pump and dump schemes in cryptocurrencies. This is not yet regulated because it's such a new market, and so there's been an absolute explosion over the last couple of years in pump and dump schemes here. Things opening up on various forums where people are supposed to all come together, buy a coin at one time, sell it for massive profit as the price goes up. The irony is the people in these groups tend to be the ones who are getting dumped onto, and they all tend to lose money. I expect to see these get regulated soon enough, but we're not going to dwell on this too much because we talked about cryptocurrency so much recently. Now, another thing about Tian Ruixiang Holdings is that it's a Chinese stock, and that poses some problems for investors. For a start, Chinese companies have had a recent history of being quite, shall we say, manipulative with their financial statements. They're basically lying on a lot of their statements, misstating income, misstating revenues, misstating balance sheets, anything they can get away with to make their company look more attractive. And this is partly because in China, it's not so much an objective government regulation around these companies, it's whether or not they're beneficial to the Chinese Communist Party. So they can tend to get away with slightly more stuff so long as they provide some benefit to the government. That's all well and good for China, but if you're investing those as a foreign investor, you can get screwed over real easily. On top of that, you can get something quite interesting with the Chinese stock market, is that pretty much only government-related companies list on them. Otherwise, they're not allowed to. And that means there's not a lot of money going into that stock exchange, because those government-run companies are like government-run companies here. They're not all about the profit. They're about providing some service. So that's why you're seeing a lot of Chinese stock lists on places like the New York Stock Exchange, and that's why we're starting to come into contact with them more. Whenever you're dealing with a Chinese company, you also have to worry about Xi Jinping. I like to put this picture up because if you don't know, he looks like Winnie the Pooh, and he hates the fact that he looks like Winnie the Pooh. So it's actually illegal in China to mention Winnie the Pooh, just in case you're comparing him. So as a freestanding citizen in a free democracy, it's my duty to put this picture up as much as possible. But he runs the Chinese Communist Party, he's the president of China, and they interfere with these companies as and when they please. So it adds another level of risk investing in a company like this. Who knows? Maybe it's not a pump and dump scheme, maybe something else is going on behind the scenes that we'll find out later that was interacting with the Chinese government. But suffice to say, it's a risky scheme. What's the point of all of this? It's just to say, be careful. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the markets at the moment. Pump and dump schemes with crypto, things like this happening with stocks. Be careful, do your due diligence, and don't just jump into any random thing that you see passing by with the potential for profit. If it looks too good to be true, probably is. Anyone have any questions about that?
Hi there. Thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comment box, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you can learn more about our channel. Thank you very much, and see you next time.